Mr. President, the second reason I rise is to talk about a regulation that I'm trying to get rid of. But I want to begin with this observation. Nearly 5 years ago, when he was running for president, I remember it like it was yesterday, President Biden said, quote, "I guarantee you we're going to end fossil fuels," end quote. I guarantee you, he said, in front of God, country, and the American people, I guarantee you, he said, we're going to end fossil fuels. And he tried. For 4 years, he tried. Here's why I point that out. The first well drilled in the Gulf of America, I know some people call it the Gulf of Mexico. I don't want to get off into that discussion. But the first well drilled offshore in the Gulf of America was drilled in 87 years ago in 1938. Since then, we have drilled, I think, 6,000 wells. There are 6,000 platforms in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, before an oil company drills a well, on its own volition and at the suggestion of the Department of Interior, the oil company surveys the seabed. Just makes sense for safety reasons, but also for the sake of history, because we want to look for shipwrecks. We have found, I don't know how many shipwrecks, Mr. President. I had it written down, and 4,000 shipwrecks. We've surveyed the entire Gulf of America in the 87 years since we started drilling there. We have surveyed 311,652 square nautical miles, the surface area of Texas and California put together. That's how we found 4,000 shipwrecks. And it's cost hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So we know what's there. We know what's there. Well, in September of 2024, the Department of Interior, in a midnight regulation, in an effort to try to further hurt fossil fuels, passed a new rule. And they said, look, we know we've surveyed the entire Gulf, and we know we found 4,000 shipwrecks. And we know that the area that we surveyed is the size of California and Texas put together. But every time you drill a new well, we want you to survey again. Well, why? I mean, what's the benefit? We know what the cost is. It costs anywhere from $10,000 to $1 million to resurvey again. It just makes no sense. And a third of the production in the Gulf is from independent oil companies. Maybe the majors can support this, but if an independent oil company has to survey what's already been surveyed, it can add, as I said, $10,000 to $1 million to well cost. What's the point? I can tell you what the point is. Somebody over at BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, Department of Interior, hates fossil fuels. Somebody or somebodies. Now, I'm not saying that the person who came up with this rule is the dumbest guy in the world. But that person better hope that the dumbest guy in the world doesn't die. Because this is just bone deep down to the marrow dumb. This is the kind of spending porn that we all ought to abhor. So I'm going to try to kill the regulation today under what, as you know, Mr. President, is called the Congressional Review Act. We'll be voting on that. We'll be voting on that shortly. And I hope that I realize that common sense, as I've said before, is illegal in Washington. This is not a normal place. But I hope folks who still have common sense will vote to get rid of this foolish rule. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor. Mr. President,
Senator from Louisiana.
I move to proceed to Cal number 15, SJ Res 11.